Chapter 6. Departure. Decision. Weeks pass by in Kyiv, in the shelter, among the war-torn streets of a city that tries to protect its inhabitants like a shell protects its pearl. Ivan and Nadya carry on their humanitarian support to refugees from all around the country, especially from the eastern territories of Donetsk and Luhansk, where the fighting has been most intense. Each day brings new challenges and heartbreaks, but also moments of profound connection and resilience. They meet families who have lost everything, children traumatized by the horrors they've witnessed, elderly folks clinging to the hope of returning to their homes one day. In the face of such overwhelming need, Ivan and Nadya often feel helpless, their efforts a mere drop in an ocean of suffering. But they persevere, driven by the conviction that every life they touch, every bit of comfort they provide, matters in the grand scheme of things. They spend long hours distributing food, blankets, and medical supplies, listening to stories of loss and survival, offering words of comfort and encouragement. They work closely with local volunteers and aid organizations, trying to coordinate efforts and maximize impact. At night, huddled together in the chilly shelter, they share their experiences, their fears, their hopes for the future. They draw strength from each other, from the love that binds them together and gives meaning to their struggle. And slowly, imperceptibly at first, they begin to see the fruits of their labors: a child's smile, a grateful embrace, a glimmer of hope in tired eyes. These small victories keep them going, even on the darkest of days. For Ivan and Nadya know that this is a marathon, not a sprint, that the road to healing and rebuilding will be long and arduous. But they also know that they are not alone, that they are part of something greater than themselves. And so they carry on, day after day, week after week, pouring their hearts and souls into the work of compassion and solidarity. In the midst of war's chaos and cruelty, they stand as beacons of humanity, living proof that love and kindness can never be extinguished, even in the darkest of times. "You know what gives me hope, though?" Ivan says suddenly, his voice cutting through the evening gloom. "The way our people have come together, just like they did during the Orange Revolution and Euromaidan. Volunteers, activists, ordinary citizens, everyone doing their part to support the country." Nadya smiles, the first real smile she'd shown all day. "You're right. It's like we've taken the spirit of those movements and channeled it into something new. A different kind of revolution, one fought not with protests and slogans, but with compassion and solidarity." They turn a corner and find themselves in front of a building that had been reduced to rubble by artillery fire. A makeshift memorial had been set up nearby with flowers, candles, and photographs of the victims. Ivan and pause, their hearts heavy with grief. "So much loss," Nadya whispers, her eyes glistening with tears. "So much pain. Sometimes I wonder how we'll ever recover from this." Ivan put an arm around her shoulders, drawing her close. "We will, moya doroha, my dear friend. Just like we recovered from the Holodomor, from the Soviet occupation, from all the other tragedies in our history. We're a resilient people, remember? It's in our DNA." Nadya leans into his embrace, taking comfort in his strength. He was right, of course. The Ukrainian people have endured so much over the centuries, have risen from the ashes of countless wars and repressions. They will endure this too, will rebuild what had been destroyed and create something even better in its place. As they approach their apartment building, Ivan turns to Nadya with a serious expression. "I've been thinking," he starts, choosing his words carefully. "Maybe it's time for me to leave, to try and get some help from outside the country." Nadya looks at him, her eyes searching his face. "Leave? But what about our volunteer work, our friends and family here?" Ivan takes her hands in his gaze intense. "I know it's not an easy decision, but hear me out. We've been doing everything we can here in Kyiv, but the situation is getting worse every day. If we can get out, make contact with some of the international aid organizations, maybe we can bring back more support, more resources for our people." Nadya is silent for a long moment, considering his words. She knows he is right. Their efforts, however tireless, were just a drop in the bucket compared to the scale of the crisis. And yet, the thought of leaving, of abandoning their homeland in its hour of need, feels like a betrayal. "I don't know, Ivan," she replies at last, her voice heavy with doubt. It feels wrong to leave, like we're running away. Ivan cups her face gently, his thumb brushing away a tear she hasn't realized has fallen. It's not running away, my love. It's a strategic retreat, a chance to regroup and come back stronger. We're not abandoning Ukraine. We're fighting for her, just in a different way. Nadya leans into his touch, drawing strength from his conviction. He is right, she knows. They have to think beyond the immediate, to look for ways to make a real, lasting difference. And if that means leaving, however temporarily, then that's what they should do. Dobre, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. Okay, let's do it. Let's go and get help for the sake of our country. Ivan looks at Nadya, his eyes filled with a mixture of determination and sorrow. Nadya, pausing to find the right words. It's not a let's do it. I am going. Just me. Nadya's heart sinks at his words, a chill running through her body despite the warmth of the shelter. She knew this moment would come, but she had been pushing it to the back of her mind, focusing instead on their work, on the small moments of joy and connection they'd found amidst the chaos. Ivan, she begins, her voice trembling slightly. But as she looks into his eyes, she sees the resolve etched into every line of his face. She understands. This was something he needed to do, a call he cannot ignore. And who is she to stand in the way of that? She takes a deep breath, steadying herself. I don't understand, she whispers softly, but Ivan is already shaking his head, his grip on her hand tightening. No, Nadya, not this time. I can't risk you like the last time. I can't bear the thought of something happening to you out there. Nadya opens her mouth to protest, to insist that she can handle herself, that she belongs by his side. But the words die on her lips as she sees the anguish in his gaze, the fear and the love warring in his eyes. This is something I have to do alone, Ivan affirms, his voice low and intense. I need you to stay here, to keep the work going, to be the light in the darkness for these people. They need you, Nadya, and I need to know that you're safe. Tears well up in Nadya's eyes, blurring her vision. She wants to argue, to rage against the unfairness of it all. But deep down, she knows he was right. They each have their roles to play in this struggle, and sometimes those roles have to diverge. I understand, she sighs, the words feeling like shards of glass in her throat. But you have to promise me, Ivan. Promise me you'll come back to me, that you'll be careful out there. Ivan pulls her close, burying his face in her hair. I promise, he murmurs, his voice muffled by emotion. I'll always come back to you, Nadya. You're my home, my heart. Nothing can change that. They hold each other for a long time, as if trying to memorize every curve and angle, every beat of each other's hearts. And when they finally pulled apart, there are no more words, just a final, searing kiss that says everything they couldn't express. As Ivan gathers his few belongings and prepared to leave, Nadya watches him, committing every detail to memory. The way the dim light plays across his features, the strength and grace of his movements, the love and the pain mingled in his eyes. And when he finally walks out into the war-scarred streets, she doesn't look away, doesn't let herself cry. She stands tall and proud, a beacon of hope and resilience in the face of the unimaginable. For she knows, with a certainty that goes beyond words, that this is not a goodbye, that their love, their bond, can weather any storm, overcome any distance, and that someday, when the guns fall silent and the healing begins, they will find each other again, will build the life they have always dreamed of. Until then, she will carry on, will pour her heart and soul into the work of compassion and solidarity. For that was her role, her calling, just as Ivan's is to fight for their homeland on the front lines. Two hearts, one purpose, two paths, converging towards a brighter dawn. That is the essence of their love, the core of who they were. And nothing, not even the horrors of war, can ever change that. Way out. On his way out of town, Ivan knows it isn't an easy choice for her, knows how much it costs her to even consider leaving. But that only makes him admire her more, this brave, stubborn, beautiful woman who has stolen his heart so completely. He reruns in his mind the scene where they stand there for a long time, holding each other as the night deepens around them. They don't know what the future holds, what challenges and dangers lie ahead, but they know that they will face them together, united in their love for each other and for their homeland. And so, with heavy hearts but unshakable resolve, Ivan begins his departure into the unknown, armed with nothing but his wits, his courage, and their unbreakable bond. His plan is to seek help from the outside world, to plead their country's case to anyone who will listen. And then, when the time is right, he will return. He will come back to his beloved Ukraine and his beloved partner in adventure, carrying with him the support and solidarity of the international community. Now, it's time to join his compatriots in the fight for freedom, for justice, for the right to determine their own destiny. For they are Ukrainians, and their love for their country burns brighter than any fear, any doubt, any hardship. They will never stop fighting, never stop believing, until Ukraine is free at last. Restless. As Ivan navigates his way away from his homeland, Nadya is on a journey of her own. After their harrowing separation, she throws herself into her work, volunteering at the makeshift hospitals that have sprung up across the city. Day after day, she tends to the wounded and the dying, her hands steady even as her heart trembles. She sees the toll of the war etched into every face, hears the echoes of pain and loss in every cry. And yet, amidst all the suffering, she also witnesses moments of incredible courage, of resilience, of humanity at its finest. It is these moments that give her hope, that fuel her determination to keep going despite the exhaustion and the heartache. She knows that somewhere out there, Ivan is fighting his own battles, and she draws strength from the thought of him, from the love that binds them together across any distance. But as the days turn into weeks, Nadya finds herself grappling with a growing sense of restlessness. She feels called to do more, to find a way to contribute to the cause of peace in a more lasting way. Late at night, when the hospital is quiet and her thoughts are her own, she begins to sketch out ideas, plans for how to bring an end to the conflict that has torn her country apart. She envisions a grassroots movement, a coalition of ordinary Ukrainians who come together to demand an end to the violence. She imagines reaching out to the international community, enlisting their support and influence to pressure both sides to come to the negotiating table. She dreams of a future where Ukraine can be whole and free, where its people can live without fear. Nadya knows that these are lofty goals, that the road to peace will be long and fraught with challenges. But she also knows that she cannot rest until she has done everything in her power to make that dream a reality. And she knows that she cannot do it alone. More than anything, she longs to share these ideas with Ivan, to enlist his support and his wisdom. She knows that together, they can be a formidable force, that their love for each other and for their country can overcome any obstacle. So as she works and plans and hopes, Nadya holds fast to the belief that she will see Ivan again, that they will be reunited in this life and not the next. And when that day comes, she will be ready to fight alongside him, to build the future they have dreamed of, to bring peace to the land they both call home. It is this hope, this unshakable faith, that keeps Nadya going through the darkest of days. It is the light that guides her, the compass that points her ever forward, and it is the promise that she makes to herself, to Ivan, to all of Ukraine. A promise to never give up, to never lose sight of what truly matters, to always keep fighting for the better world they know is possible. With every beat of her heart, Nadya holds fast to that promise, and she knows, with a certainty that defies all doubt, that one day she will see it fulfilled. One day, she and Ivan will stand together in a Ukraine that is free and at peace. And on that day, all the sacrifices, all the struggles, will have been worth it. Brothers in arms. In the meanwhile, Ivan walks the battle-scarred streets and tracks of the countryside, his heart heavy with the weight of all he has seen and endured. The once vibrant city is now a shadow of itself, its buildings scarred by bullets and bombs, its people scarred by loss and fear. As he turns a corner, he comes face to face with a group of Russian soldiers, their young faces weary beneath their helmets. For a moment, Ivan tenses, his hand instinctively reaching for the gun he now carries at all times. But then one of the soldiers, a boy who can't be more than 18, smiles at him tentatively. "Privet," he says, his voice soft and uncertain. "Koti chai, do you want some tea?" Ivan blinks, taken aback by the offer of tea from an enemy soldier, but something on the boy's face, in the hopeful tilt of his smile, makes him pause. He nods slowly, his own lips curving into a cautious smile. Da, spasibo! Ivan thanks the soldier reluctantly in Russian language. They sit on the rubble of a destroyed building, passing a thermos of hot tea between them. As they sip, they begin to talk, haltingly at first, then with growing ease. The soldiers, Ivan learns, are from a small town near the border. They had been told they were going on a training exercise, that they would be home in a few weeks. "We didn't know," one of them says, his eyes haunted, "about any of this. The fighting, the killing. We thought." He trails off, his gaze distant. Ivan feels a sudden surge of empathy for these boys, these unwitting pawns in a war they don't understand. They are so young, so naive, just like he had been once upon a time. As they talk, sharing stories of their homes, their families, their dreams, Ivan begins to see them in a new light. Not as enemies, but as brothers. Brothers of a different mother, perhaps, but brothers nonetheless. They are all victims of this war, he realizes. The Ukrainians, forced to fight for their very existence. The Russians, sent to die for a cause they don't comprehend. In the end, they are all just human beings, caught up in a conflict that is so much bigger than any of them. Ivan begins to understand the depth of the propaganda that these young soldiers, and indeed all of Russia, have been subjected to. The state-controlled media, the only source of information for so many, spins a narrative of half-truths and outright lies, painting Ukraine as a threat, a nation of fascists and extremists. Opposition voices, those brave enough to speak out against the Kremlin's agenda, are swiftly silenced. Politicians who dare to challenge Putin's power find themselves jailed, or worse, their parties banned, their supporters intimidated. Journalists, the last bastion of free speech, live in constant fear. Those who dig too deep, who ask too many questions, have a way of disappearing. Some are found dead under mysterious circumstances. Others simply vanish, their fates unknown. The soldiers speak of this in hushed tones, their eyes darting nervously, as if even here, in the heart of Kyiv, they fear being overheard. They talk of friends who have attended protests, only to be beaten and arrested by the police. They whisper about relatives who have spoken out on social media, only to be visited by the FSB, the infamous Russian security service. Ivan listens with growing horror and sorrow. He has known, of course, about the repression in Russia, the stifling of dissent. But to hear it from these young men, to see the fear in their eyes, makes it all so much more real. He realizes, with a sinking feeling, that these soldiers are as much prisoners as he has been, trapped not by bars and walls, but by a system that denies them the very right to think for themselves. They have been fed a steady diet of lies and hate, their minds poisoned against a people who are not so different from themselves. And yet, even in the face of all this, there are some who resist. Brave souls who continue to speak the truth, to fight for freedom and democracy, no matter the cost. Journalists who risk their lives to expose the corruption and the cruelty of the regime. Opposition leaders who refuse to be silenced, even as they are hounded and harassed at every turn. Their courage, Ivan realizes, is a beacon of hope in the darkness, a reminder that even in the face of the most oppressive regimes, the human spirit cannot be extinguished, that there will always be those who stand up for what is right, no matter the consequences. When it is time to part, they embrace these unlikely friends forged in the crucible of war. Do svidaniya is their goodbye to Ivan as he watches them go, his heart heavy once more. But there is a new light in his eyes, a flicker of hope amidst the darkness. He knows, now more than ever, that the only way forward is through understanding, through compassion, through the recognition of their shared humanity. It won't be easy, and the road ahead is long and uncertain. As he bids farewell to the young soldiers, Ivan feels a renewed sense of purpose. He knows, now more than ever, that his fight is not just for Ukraine, but for all those who are oppressed, all those who are denied their basic human rights. He will stand with them, with the brave journalists and the courageous opposition leaders. He will add his voice to theirs until the truth can no longer be silenced, until freedom and justice can no longer be denied. It is a long and difficult road ahead, but Ivan is ready to walk it. For himself, for Nadya, for all those who have suffered and sacrificed, for the hope of a better future, a future where no one has to live in fear, where everyone can speak their mind without retribution. Ivan is ready to walk it, to fight not just for Ukraine, but for a future where no more young men have to die for causes they don't believe in. A future where brothers, no matter their motherland, can sit and share a cup of tea without fear. With a final nod to his newfound brothers, Ivan sets off into the war-ravaged streets, his heart heavy, but his spirit unbroken. The fight continues, but he knows, deep in his soul, that one day the truth will prevail. One day, freedom will come to all. With renewed determination, Ivan sets off towards the west, towards the promise of a better tomorrow. The war is far from over, but he knows, deep in his heart, that one day peace will come. And when it does, it will be because of moments like these, small lights in the darkness, reminding them all of what truly matters.